What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my walkthrough of the challenges for Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013. Today we're going to be taking on one of my personal favorites, Drake Expectations. Let's just jump right into it. You have Time Warp in hand. Towerand is ready to make some Drakes. Can you win before your opponent takes his next turn? Well, with Time Warp, I'm pretty sure we can. I like this one because it demonstrates like two things, really. It demonstrates how freaking broken and cheap Time Warp is. And it just demonstrates, how to pay attention to the power of your cards and pay attention to what you're going to draw. And if you can control what you're going to draw, how you can control winning no matter what's happened on the board. Like, I like showing this because how cheap it is. It just shows how cheap it is. This guy's at 42 life. Like 42 life. He's got lethal on the board and we have one creature. Like, I feel so bad for this guy that he's about to lose. But what are you going to do? Just going through this, he's got 7 open mana and 1 card in hand, which could be a little worrisome. He could have something like Beast Within or something like that. So we just need to realize that he's got a shit ton of open mana and a card in hand. As far as what he's got out on the field, he's got Pelika Worm. It's a pretty decent card, I guess. Costs a ton, but it does get you 7 life and a card when it dies. And he's got Giant Spider, which is just going to block the shit out of anything we have. It's got Reach, which is really a big problem for us. The only thing we have out on the field is Towerand, which is a fantastic card if you can get him out as a 4-drop, especially in the blue deck that he runs in. It's just amazing. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you're going to get a 2/2 blue Drake to come onto the field. And important thing to realize is that that's going to trigger and resolve before any effects of the spell that you're casting trigger or resolve. So it's pretty important just to realize that. It's just kind of cool. This actually really demonstrates how the stack works too. So looking at our hand, we of course have the amazing Time Warp. Target player takes an extra turn. It's a fantastic card. We got Towerand's Invocation, which is going to give us 3 Drakes every time we cast it because Towerand's on the field. We got 2 of those. We've got a Rupture, which allows us to sacrifice a dude and then deal damage equal to that creature's power to each creature without flying and each player. And we've got Reverberate, which is an amazing card. For just 2 red, it's going to allow us to copy any instant or sorcery spell that we have and choose new targets for the copy if we so desire. So there's a lot of stuff that we can look at right there, but we also have this card, and this card is awesome. Sage Owl is going to allow us to look at the top 4 cards of our library and put them back in any order. Now, the reason why that card is so cool and the reason why I bring him up last to kind of harp on him is the fact that we have Time Warp. Now, anytime you have a card that allows you to dig through your pile or dig through the amount of cards that you're going to draw, and you have a card that allows you to take an extra turn and allows you to draw a card, you want to kind of cast that first. Now, not really in actual play settings. The fact that we have Reverberate and Time Warp is very enticing. If I was just playing this as an actual match, that would probably be the move that I went for 9 times out of 10. But in a puzzle like this, we want to know what cards we can draw, what the possibilities are. And this actually really demonstrates that if you have a card this powerful, because it is very powerful when coupled with Time Warp, it's a very good idea to cast that first. So that's definitely going to be the first thing we do. We want to see what we've got on the top of our deck. We're going to figure out what we need. And right away we can see that these 4 cards are awesome. All 4 of these cards, even the mana, are pretty enticing to us right now. The most of which, however, is this Time Warp. So we've got another one on there. We've still got the Reverberate in hand. So just knowing your deck, I mean, if you're running 4 Time Warps or something, and you've got that card that lets you dig 4 cards deep, if I knew that, I probably would use this. Just the fact that the chances of me drawing a Time Warp in this instance are pretty good. But let's look at the other cards that we have. We've got Furnace of Wrath, which is an awesome card, but it's tricky to use. Any source that deals damage deals double that damage, basically. So that's a little tricky. Like, there's a lot of scenarios where you lay that down and it is going to win you the game. It is a game-winning card. But there's some scenarios where you'll lay it and then your opponent will have some kind of trick up his sleeve. They'll get another turn in on you and just wipe you out, because it also works for them as well. So it's really important to realize that that's for their side of the field too. It's any effect that deals damage deals double that damage. We're talking about cards, we're talking about spells, anything. Any card that deals damage is going to deal double it. So looking at that with Blaze is pretty, interesting, and it's pretty intoxicating combo right there, because Blaze can be a very good card. It's just that we really don't have enough mana. This guy's at 42 life. So if we are going to deal him literally 42 damage over the course of the next, well, we have 3 turns essentially. But if we're going to deal him down to 0, Blaze is not going to get us there, even with Furnace of Wrath. So that's going to go on the bottom of our 4-card stack here. Now, the next thing that's interesting is that we have both those Talrand's invocations. So right away, I like the fact that we've got Furnace of Wrath quite a bit, but we don't have enough mana to play it, and we don't have enough mana to play both Talrand's invocations in one turn. So the next card, the card that I would rather draw would be the land. So we're going to go ahead and put Furnace of Wrath as our 3rd pick, the land as our 2nd pick, the 2nd card we're going to draw, and we definitely want Time Warp to be on the top of this pile so that we can get all those extra turns. So now we're sitting here, we've got Time Warp open, we really don't have any other choice but to play that. Definitely target ourselves. Unless you're milling someone. If you're milling someone, then maybe targeting them with Time Warp is the right play, but it's not the right move for right now. So we take another turn, we grab another Time Warp, and we're going to go ahead and give ourselves maximum turns by casting Reverberate on that as well. We're also going to get 2 2/2 Drakes because both those spells have been cast, which is awesome. I mean, the more creatures I can get out, the better I feel about this, because we want as many creatures as possible for when we get that Furnace of Wrath. So now we're going to have another turn after this one. So we're going to get to draw that mana, we're going to play it, and then we get 6 tokens on this turn, which is awesome. We're just kind of climbing up that ladder, we're climbing up that hill. We're going to get the rest of those tokens out there, but we've still got a couple of problems. Our turn's going to go ahead and end. We're still not swinging in. He's got too much defense. We're not going to be able to do it. I guess I kind of glossed over that fact, but he's got all that reach on the field. We really want to kill him in one just tremendous blow. We don't want to lose a bunch of our tokens to just him blocking us and just outright killing us. He's at 2/4 blockers, 4 of them, which, I mean, that sounds a little fishy. He's got 43 cards left in his deck. He's got all 4 of them out on the field. I'm just saying, it's pretty terrible. Oh my god, it is ridiculous. This guy's obviously cheating, but that's beside the point. So we're going to play Furnace of Wrath, but we still have to think through this a little bit, because if we just smash in, he's still going to kill us. And if we run all the numbers and do all the math, we're still in trouble. But luckily, we still have Rupture. And we may have overlooked this card because of certain things. It's going to kill Talrand, It's going to do a bunch of different weird stuff when we cast it. But the thing is that now that we have Furnace of Wrath out, if we use Rupture, we're also going to kill all of his 2/4 defenders. Each and every one of these creatures is going to die, which means that we get to swing in with full force. And it's doubled because of Furnace of Wrath. Now, if you run the numbers on this, we still don't win. Like, if we just look at the table as it is right now, we still don't win. Except for one fact that I brought up earlier, and that is the fact that Talrand's ability is going to trigger before Rupture starts to trigger, which means that it will trigger and resolve and give us the 2/2 creature, which is just even more broken. Like, the fact that we beat this guy down from 42 to 0 is just heartbreaking. but we are able to target a creature that would otherwise be unable to attack in this instance. So this 2/2 right here is going to be the target of Rupture. That way we get rid of him, we kill all his defenders, and we are still able to swing in with full force, dealing what I believe is even damage to him, because that's 18, 19 times 2 is going to be 38. So it is kind of a heartbreaking loss, but it was a really awesome win. It's a great challenge because you feel super overpowered when you're playing through it. I mean, you are just in complete control of the game from the second you get into this puzzle to the second you leave it. So it's really fun. I think it's a pretty good little puzzle. Just kind of gets you looking at different card combinations that you might not look at right off the bat. Because if we had just done the Time Warp and Reverberate, and we hadn't been able to dig through our pile and pick what cards we were drawing, we would not have been able to win that. It also demonstrates, like I said, how the stack works. So if you aren't really familiar with the game too much, and that's kind of, I'm trying to go into these as if you're not really familiar with the actual trading card game, and you're not maybe you're a little familiar with that, a little familiar with this game, you just need someone to bridge the gap. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with these walkthroughs, and hopefully I'm achieving that. But really just how the stack works is very important in this one, and I think that just having it show it so clearly is way more helpful than any kind of explanation, because the stack is kind of a weird concept to wrap your head around if you're a new player, and I think seeing it in action right here is the best possible way to explain that. I hope this episode helped you out if you were having some trouble with Drake expectations. Like I said, it's one of my favorite puzzles. We're going to be getting into some more tricky ones, some more crazy stuff's going to be coming up. But I hope this episode helped you out, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys on the next one.